Jupiter at Night, presented live on the internet, before an audience that's so amazing.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Jupiter at Night. My name is Chris.
My name is Jeremy.
Hey there, J-Man.
Hi.
Welcome to a very Tuesday, April 19th, 2011 edition of Jupiter at
Wow,
Night.
a very one?
Yeah, you know why?
It's the one and only, actually.
Because that's the one and only day that Portal 2 has been released.
It has officially been unleashed on our faces, and I could not be happier.
Yeah. We both set aside the time. We made the commitment to get our hands on this game. The first thing...
You even took some time off work.
I did. Yeah. Well, you know, that's been one of the benefits as I've been slowly ramping up to full-time at Jupiter Broadcasting is actually being able to say what I'm going to do with my days. And I was like, no, you know what? Show research. You got to play Portal 2. It's for show research. And that felt great.
Sure is. All right.
You know, one aspect of this whole thing about Portal is it's obviously it's a geek phenomenon.
It's a cultural phenomenon.
Yeah,
this is like
the music and all of that. Now the game has gone into merchandising, and of course, Think Geek always on the sort of minds of geeks when you come to like parody clothing and things like that. They have things like plush companion cubes now and whatnot.
I love those fuzzy dice.
I actually really want. Here's what I want. I was looking through this. I want a pair of the fuzzy dice for my truck, and then I really want to get one of these Aperture Laboratory shirts.
Yeah, those are nice shirts.
I think that would make like a great like show shirt. You know.
Well, and even that, I mean, you still do some contract IT work. You could show up someplace like that. Look totally professional.
Well, and if the client got the reference, then I just get total credit with the client.
They just,
right?
you know, it'd be a little wink and nod thing.
Now, we've recently signed up with an affiliate with Think Geek just because we're huge Think Geek fans. And if you are too and you want to check out some of this Portal stuff, right in the show notes, we'll have a link. If you click on through that, you actually support the show if you make a purchase at
awesome.
Think Geek. Yeah.
Some other things we've got in the show notes is, you know, we're not the only ones reviewing this.
Turns out.
And I got to tell you, everybody is just slathering on the love.
Yeah, the Wall
Street
Journal said that Portal 2 is a hole-in-one.
Clever.
Techland gave it a perfect 10.
Techland is Time Magazine's tech.
Sort of like, like the All Things D is for what?
Right,
yeah.
right.
And then PC Gamer came in with a 94 out of 100 score.
Yeah, only one game ever has beat that score, I believe.
How have we seen the Metacritic? I always see on the last Lotso.
I should have gotten that. Yeah.
On the last Lotso, we kind of took a guess as to how it was going to do on. I don't remember what my number was. I put it. I'll have to go back and check, but I
have no doubt that it's over 90.
Yeah, look for the Xbox 360 edition on Metacritic right now is going with a solid 94 on Metacritic.
I guess we should probably mention up front that we've only experienced the PC version as of this time, so it may be a little different. Later on, when we get into our review, we've got lists of pros and cons about the way things were implemented. So just keep that in mind when we get there. It's PC only that we're talking about.
Yeah. So why don't we get into our review a little bit? Because,
sure.
You know, we've both been chomping at the bit. The orange box I loved originally, and my only major concern with Portal 2 was the value going to be there for this game on its own?
Yeah.
Before I got as part of the orange box, it was more of a value deal.
It was almost. I feel like Portal's success as part of the orange box was almost. It felt like an accident. Like it was just this extra thing. You bought Orange Box for Half-Life and Team Fortress, and then there was this other game.
And it was on there. I was like, I'll check it out.
Yeah.
And then I became consumed by it.
Yes, I think everybody did. It was this weird cult phenomenon that came out as an also-ran and it ended up taking everything over.
And so that's where the anticipation was set for Portal 2. And getting into it, you know, you've got to expect that some of it's going to be the same. But the big question I had was, were they going to introduce enough new stuff to make it feel like it's a new game to play, to make it feel like it's worth that full retail price?
Also, you know, Portal 1, you could, in a dedicated sit-down, you could beat it in a single sitting.
Yeah, if you were a dedicated person. And I actually have already seen people posting online beating Portal 2.
Yeah, it's not this epic mega thing, but it does feel a lot bigger and a lot deeper.
Yes, it definitely does. Do you want to? Let's start with the tangibles. Graphics, the environment versus Portal 1. What do you think?
Incredible.
Yeah,
because it's not just these testing cubes that you're in with these walls that you shoot portals at, and you're always encaged and everything. It starts right off the bat with this sequence that ends up blowing your mind because the walls that you have been encased in explode.
Yeah.
And you can see the world outside your little cube.
Yeah.
And it just,
And it's done with a good sense of humor and a good sense of confusion.
Yeah.
And right out of the gate with those jokes where it's like, wait a minute, wait, what did you just say? What? That doesn't sound right. That sounds a little twisted, actually. Sounds like you're screwing with me right now just a little bit.
But that's the spirit of Portal, and that's actually the main thing that I was worried about is because the original Portal was such a sleeper hit, just this weird, offbeat, wacky thing that they kind of did. That was the whole charm of it. I mean, if it was just a puzzle game, then it's just a puzzle game. But the AI, the voiceovers, those are what sold Portal really to its core. And I was worried that Valve might take it too far with this. They
almost
might
become like a parody of itself.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what I was worried about.
It wouldn't live up to the soul and the nature of what people loved about Portal 1 if they tried to nail those jokes too hard.
Pretty big claim, J-Man.
I gotta say that I think they hit it on the head.
Yeah.
I think that they.
I don't want to be like Mr. Super Fanboy here, but I really thought they got that aspect right. That was probably one of the biggest things I was worried about.
Yeah.
And I also was almost like an equal share of my worry pie went to the whole idea that I was just going to see the same sets with dirt applied to them.
Right.
And I thought, man, I do not want to wait for them to take these, add some dirt, put some new voiceovers in there, and give me a new game.
Although I gotta say, the first few maps that you interact with after the walls blow off your cube are the original maps with dirt thrown on them.
Yeah.
But in such brilliant little ways that it reintroduces. It also is a great way for new players to get into the Portal world. You don't have to have played Portal 1 to enjoy the opening of Portal 2.
You really don't.
It's
at least
brilliant.
so far from what I've experienced. Now, I looked at my Steam progress indicator. I'm about halfway through the game.
All right.
So I don't obviously have the full depth of the game to speak from, but so far, I think you're right. I don't feel like you should worry if you haven't picked up Portal 1. Just go right to Portal 2. Pick up Portal 1 too because it's a good game and you can get it cheap.
Yeah.
But this is a lot of fun. That's what everybody's talking about.
Yeah.
Now, going in, you meet a new friend. You meet somebody who's a guide. Ish.
Almost.
And I kind of get the feeling if I know you, you're probably not his biggest fan.
No, but I honestly can't put my finger on it. His name is Wheatley.
You don't like distractions.
No, I don't know if that's it.
That's what. It's the first thing I was like, this guy's kind of distracting.
I think what it might be is that I feel like he's trying a little too hard to be funny.
There is some moments,
but it's not the actor. It's not the character that's trying too hard. It's the writers that made him do certain things that make it feel that way a little bit.
Yeah.
But
honestly, just about every time it made me smile. It really did. I just...
Yeah, me too.
Here's why.
But once I met some of the other characters, or re-met some of the other characters that are introduced in Portal 2, he just completely took a backseat. I almost didn't care about him anymore.
Yeah, I agree with you on that so far. But what he does is he's like that comedic variable that sort of releases tension as you go. And one of the things that I like the most about Portal 2, and I don't want to sound like an old man when I say this, so don't get on my case, but honestly, it's kind of nice not always be shooting at something or being shot at. Like that does happen.
Yeah.
You do get shot at, and there are combat situations.
But they're not like zombies. They're not bad guy terrorists out to get you or something. They're pieces of a puzzle.
At the end of the day, yeah, they're pieces of a puzzle, and they're still part of the visualization and the problem solving. And I think this little companion guy that comes along with you sort of helps to melt some of the tension that can still build up. So throughout the whole game, I don't feel like this overall stress of being in this environment. And that helps me as a casual player to play for a little longer. Helps my endurance.
I think that further along in the game, his role is replaced by other characters in the game.
Yeah.
One of which is Cave Johnson, who, if you've been watching any of the trailers that Valve has put out for this, he's the founder of Aperture Science, and he's just this stereotypical 1950s dude.
Yeah.
Like, think Mad Men.
Yeah.
Like the just gung ho, manly man. And he's brilliant.
Yeah.
Hilarious. He's so good at the voiceover. The guy that does the voiceovers is just so good at lampooning himself without becoming just an absolute caricature of himself.
Do you think that the whole way that the voiceovers are done, like there's the sound of the person you're hearing, it changes as you move around the environment, all of that, right?
Yeah.
Like, do you totally buy that's something just piping in over a loudspeaker or over a robot?
Most of the time.
I do. Like I think it's really, really the way it interacts with the environment is a ton of fun.
Yeah.
Now, I can't really speak to the length because I think you're a little farther than I am, but so far, what's your gauge of the gameplay? Are you feeling like you're getting your values worth?
I'd say an average gamer could probably beat the solo player campaign in 6 to 8 hours.
Yeah,
so it's not a huge amount of gameplay.
Yeah.
But there's also the co-op mode, which we'll get to a little bit. There's also time trials and
6 to 8 hours is about what the original Portal was. So this one might be a little more. This one feels like it's maybe got a lot more content.
I seem to recall Portal 1 going by faster than that. But
it
maybe
took me about.
I played it quite a bit, and I tried some of the time trials, so maybe that's skewing my memory of it.
I want to talk about the co-op in a sec. So is there anything you think fits in better before we get to the co-op?
No, I think we covered most of the major points. Oh, no, just one more quick thing.
Yeah.
Portal, if you like GLaDOS,
yeah, GLaDOS,
the main bad guy from Portal 1, you have to play Portal 2. You owe it to yourself to get to know this character because she is the whole story.
Yeah, and you can probably figure that she's not in the best state of mind if you did play the first one.
No.
But again, you don't have to play the first one to still appreciate her humor and things like that.
No, absolutely.
Now, co-op. Can we talk that?
Yeah.
Co-op. I have gone on my pedestal before, and I've said in front of you, Internet. I have said, dear Internet, it is 2009. It is 2010. Now I say it is 2011. Internet. Every game must have multiplayer. Every game.
Must have a form of multiplayer, absolutely.
Personally, and I just totally am never going to win this one because I realize for storytelling purposes it won't always happen, but I personally feel co-op is done best when I can actually impact the overall story.
When you're playing the primary campaign. Yeah. So something like Gears of War has a
perfect
like
example of Gears of War.
Yeah.
Left 4 Dead also does it really well, but Left 4 Dead kind of does the Star Trek Online thing where you've got some boffs and you can just swap boffs out with real players.
Right.
But in Portal, the multiplayer
there's already some folks in the chat room that don't agree with you, but go on.
Yeah, I know, I'm sure, I know. But in Portal, the co-op is on its own completely separate story track.
Which we knew that was going to happen. We had been told that we were first unveiled co-op at PAX this last year, and they told us it was going to be this completely separate campaign and everything. And yeah, you hemmed and hawed, but what do you think of it now that you've gotten your hands on it?
I think it's the way to do it. And I
really, you've completely come around, or just for this game?
At least for this game, the chat room is definitely not on my side with this one. But I will say this: the co-op, the whole point of the co-op is learning how to be a good team player with the other person you're playing with.
This is the most cooperative co-op I've ever experienced.
You literally cannot complete pretty much a single objective. In fact, there was one objective where we thought you completed completely on your own without my involvement, and then we turned out, no, you still need my help.
That was like the first step of an 8-step puzzle or something. I was like, did I just do that without you? Why are you? Oh.
I don't know how you felt about it, but personally, once we kind of got the stumbling blocks off and once I put my phone on mute, I felt like it was extremely fun because it allows each player to let their strengths in the game shine, and you figure out something, and then I figure out something. We figure out something together, and it was a blast. You gotta be prepared because it's a weird environment to interact in.
It is, although I think that they've helped to overcome quite a bit of that by really enhancing the communication that you can have with your teammate. Yeah. Not only is there integrated voice chat, obviously, but there's also you can press a button to make a marker on a wall where you want somebody to put their portals.
And you can also, if you get the object just right, you can activate and highlight a specific item or button.
Right.
Which is nice.
Yeah, it's really nice. Plus, you can hold down the tab button on the PC version to actually see the other person's point of view.
Now, we did a thing where we were literally shooting a beam across an entire map and through walls and through a series of portals.
Yeah.
And then it
went in one of yours and out one of yours and then bounced off a wall and then went into one of my portals. And the two of us were separated so much we couldn't actually see one another.
While I was adjusting this reflector cube.
Yeah.
And so I'm holding down tab though while the J-Man's looking at the spot that I need to hit, so that way I could literally aim mine by looking through his view.
Yeah.
It's a fun little aspect.
Yeah.
And plus there are sometimes where we have to set up some jumps, and the J-Man's able to look at my shot before he takes his jump to see if from my angle he looks like he's going to be able to make it. So loved it. Totally don't hold it against them that it doesn't impact in the main storyline, because what I found I was doing was I was enjoying seeing if there's only any extra ways sometimes I could do something.
Yeah.
And so I could see how that would really be annoying to another player. I didn't think the multiplayer was perfect.
Well, there was actually one map that you and I were playing together, and at the end of it, we had beaten it, and you were up somewhere, and I was like, "Are you coming?" And you're like, "Wait, what? Did we do it?"
Yeah. And then
because you were looking around for more stuff to explore.
And then also there was the issue with the loading screens, the voice chat, the integrated voice chat cuts out.
Yeah.
Which is almost annoying enough that makes me want to use my own voice chat system because during the loading screens is like when you're going to want to talk the most.
It's the perfect time to chat.
Yeah.
You're not busy looking at the turrets that are trying to kill you or trying to aim a laser or anything like that. That was extremely frustrating that you could not. And I don't know if that's a limitation of
Steam system,
of
maybe?
Steam.
Maybe.
That it's hot loading the content too much, using too much processor or something. I don't know.
Or like if it loses its hooks with the game while it's loading.
I don't know.
But it was frustrating. And I don't think it'd be an issue on the Xbox 360 because I think
probably not.
Yeah, the live system would take care of that.
Some of the greatest things about co-op too are, first of all, I want to say that it could be really frustrating if you don't have the right partner.
Yeah.
There were even times I got frustrated with Chris.
Yeah. Especially when I have family in the room.
Right.
I'm like, what, Jeremy? Are you doing something?
Well, and when they cause you to walk off a cliff that has to reset the whole map. So don't play this with strangers. That's my honest recommendation. There's an option to find a random teammate through Steam. I don't recommend that unless you are very brave and extremely patient.
And also don't be thrown if you feel like you've just completed the co-op a little soon. It actually has like multiple different courses you can go and stuff like that.
Yeah, we actually went through the first set of 6 maps, got ourselves back to the hub, they call it, which is this big central area, and found ourselves going, what, was that it?
Yeah.
And then we were both like, that was still fun though.
Yeah. We're like, well, that was good. I would like a little more if that was it. And then we found more doors. Right. And we kept going.
So it wouldn't have been completely disappointing if it was only 6 maps.
That's a good sign.
And then we found like 12 more, and then there's like even more out there.
Yeah. And then the difficulty and
but I have to say, even if you're playing with somebody that might make it a little frustrating, or if you find yourself a little short on patience, Gladys is there to help. Yeah. Because she's constantly just throwing out these one-liners. You do anything.
Yeah.
At one point, there was a map where you push a button and a cube falls into the water.
And you did it wrong.
Every time she does it, she's like, "Oh, that was great.
Good
and
job.
You drop another one.
Well
Good
done.
job.
Yeah, totally.
You're
sarcastic.
amazing at this."
Yeah. So the humor's there. The gameplay's there. It's the same gameplay you love, but with new aspects, new tricks you have to
endlessly more complicated because you have 4 separate portals to deal with. It's not like one of you has one portal and the other has the other. You each have a set of 2.
And then there's things now that you can send through those portals that also change the gameplay up. So there's a whole nother level sometimes you have to think of. Yeah. And that also takes place in the main gameplay as well. Yeah. So overall, I'm really happy, and I had high expectations.
Now, yeah, I love it, but I got to admit that at times I wrote this simile. It can feel sometimes like you're playing pool with a friend, but each of you can only use one hand and have to share the same stick at the same time.
It does sometimes feel like that because you literally can, in doing the co-op, you can't progress without the other person being able to do it. But when you do, because you work together, it's more rewarding.
It is, absolutely. Yeah. It's also really cool to be stuck on a puzzle and then all of a sudden see your teammate go, what if I do this? And win.
Yes. That is good. And that's where the voice chat's also great. Yeah. I do not recommend it without the voice chat. No. Because there's so much coordination, maybe unless you've been through it a lot, at least through the first time. Yeah. Yeah. Anything else to cover in this whole thing?
Well, I do want to mention just a few quick downers of the game as a whole. Okay. I know that's kind of a lame note to end on, but I figure they're worth mentioning. Sure. Some of the puzzles later on in the main game and some of the multiplayer puzzles are extremely difficult. Not only just mind-bending, trying to figure out the proper solutions, but some of them require, and I hate this because I'm not very good at shooters, very quick draw type of stuff.
Sort of twitch reaction.
Yeah, I'm stuck right now on a map where I have to jump through a portal and then be able to re-aim the one I'm falling towards while I'm falling, and I just can't get it.
And that's a frustrating thing because then you sometimes feel
I know the solution.
You know the solution, and it's either you don't have the motor skills yet, like the muscle memory to pull it off, or it's like that and you're fighting maybe some game mechanics every now and then, and it's just those two combinations can be really frustrating. Yeah. That said, though, Portal 2 is the kind of game, honestly, where if that starts happening to you, you can walk away for 20, 30 minutes, 2-3 days even, and come back, and it's not a big deal to pick
Or if you're having that trouble on the single-player campaign, go play co-op for a while. It is great fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
I did not like Wheatley. I've already mentioned that. I actually...
That's the little companion guy.
Yeah. And I don't want to give anything away, but I kind of don't like what they did with his story. It's worth it, though. I like the way he fits into it on a whole because of how it pays off with Gladys. And her character is amazing.
Do you want to, maybe on a positive note, so far like I said, only halfway through the game. Enjoyed the music and the audio elements, and all of that stuff. I thought that's been a really strong
In fact,
aspect.
speaking of music, one of my favorite things is some of the more complicated puzzles that have several steps to them in order to help you to be able to solve them. They give you these little musical audio cues when you get something right.
Yes, like, yes. Perfect little hints to know that as you're lining something up, you're doing it in the correct order, or you're getting it all.
Or you've done the first step of a several-step puzzle that you will eventually be able to... Because sometimes you can't even tell. You jump through a portal, you don't know what you just did, but if you hear that musical cue, then you're like, I'm on the right path.
Exactly. And that musical cue combined with mini puzzles, win. Total win there. Yeah.
And I guess my just final note is that I haven't gotten many achievements for this game yet. Now, maybe it's because I suck. I will admit I'm not the greatest game player out there, but I feel like the amount of effort that I put into this, I should have more than 4 at this point.
You know this is going to be one of these games, man, where you're going to go back through and you're going to go, one last thing. Now, we're running a little long, so I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but these guys did something very cool for the launch and the pre-launch of this game.
Dude.
That I got a few different comments on it, but why don't you set it up for them and tell them how cool this... I guess, what is it called? The potato?
It was the Potato Sack, which is also sometimes called the Potato Sack Indie Bundle. Basically, Valve went out and bundled together a whole group of indie PC game titles. They put them together on Steam, and they sold them as a group of 13, I think, for a really great price. First of all, if this is still available, go buy it, because these are good games.
Yeah, the Potato Sack games,
bundle,
is that what they're still calling
the
it?
bundle is still worth it. But in addition to just offering this incredible indie bundle, for everybody that bought it and everybody that played it, they helped to launch Portal 2 early through what they were calling Gladys at Home, kind of a takeoff on the SETI at Home.
Was it like a play on a total CPU time dedicated to playing video games kind of thing?
Yeah, it was. And if you scroll down this picture further, it shows how many CPUs, I don't know if it's an accurate number, are dedicated to each person playing the game through Steam.
Yeah, Killer Floor, 6,397 CPUs. Yeah, and so they went through, and as people unlocked it, the game got closer and closer to release. In fact, it even ended up releasing, it technically
several hours earlier.
Yeah, Monday night, our time.
Yeah. It was just brilliant for several reasons. First of all, Valve had successfully totally just nailed home the idea that indie gaming is worth it, that PC gaming is worth it.
Promotes PC gaming.
Yeah, and Steam.
Makes Steam sales.
Yeah.
Brilliant there. But
it probably made them hundreds of thousands of dollars on this, and I don't care.
Well, they went to indie.
I'm totally on board.
It went to indie game shops, which is awesome. Not only that, but it's a brilliant marketing scheme too. And you kind of have to appreciate it from that side, because if I'm in there playing one of these games, and I know you'd love one of these games, I'm totally going to be hitting you up on IM. I'm going to be tweeting this out. I'm going to be telling people about this. I love it. It's like it's viral marketing meets gaming meets supporting indie developers.
Plus, imagine from the point of view of some of the developers that actually made these games, how much exposure did these guys get from releasing something that helped Portal 2, the most anticipated game of 2011?
It's an interesting problem, I would imagine, that Steam indie developers have, that when a big title like this hits, especially a Valve title.
Real quick, Kaiser just pointed out that you did not have to buy the Potato Sack. If you already owned these titles, they were also linked up to this project.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And it's great, because these are times, you guys, these indie devs, these big launches like this is when they take it in the shorts the most. And people spend their money on these big games and they don't buy these indie games, but this is a great way to get these indie guys some sales during this big launch. This is just super slick.
I have to admit that this single move has moved Valve up in my book. They are probably one of my top 3 favorite developers.
And I really haven't heard a lot of issues regarding the Steam preloading and then activating it.
Well, mine took much longer than I would anticipate it should.
I like the preloading thing, but then the unlocking thing and the encrypting took a long time. I still have issues with my whole games being wrapped up in Steam. I feel like that's not a problem that I can take on by boycotting Portal 2.
No, and when we're talking about Portal in specific and Valve, Half-Life, these were actually made by Valve.
And they own Steam.
It's kind of like complaining against Blizzard using Battle.net.
Yeah.
So
it's just... What are you going to do?
Now, I could complain till I'm blue in the face about other games, I guess, like if it was Fallout being hooked through Steam or something like that, if I wanted to. But
if it's an issue, I would just buy the 360 edition, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
Or just buy it outside of Steam.
There you have it.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Well, we have an epic week of Jupiter at Night planned for you. If tonight's episode wasn't crazy enough for you, tomorrow night, Mars Base joins us again for another awesome space episode. And then Thursday, we've got a whole new game show reimagined, revisioned, and ready for launch.
And missing Jeremy. I got to take Thursday off. I'm doing a show this weekend again.
Yeah, and to be honest, I don't have the full cast lined up yet.
What?
So if we don't have, if it's just the whole point requires I'm going to be the quiz master, so I can't be the host and the quiz master.
If you think about it, this whole week has a theme kind of, because tonight we talk about Portal 2, which is dedicated to testing and science. And then tomorrow night is going to be all science. Mars is all sciencing up in our face.
Big time.
And then Thursday, this grand experiment of relaunching the game
And what
show.
are experiments?
Tests.
And what are tests?
Science.
It's science in its,
It's like podcasting science.
Yeah, it's like science in practice.
Yeah.
Good point, Jay, man.
We should get lab coats.
If you'd like to be part of the experiment and join our chat room, head over to jblive.tv at 8 p.m. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. That's 8 p.m. Pacific. We stream this show live, and then it's released on demand in just about any format you could ever want over at jupiterbroadcasting.com. And I haven't mentioned this in a while, but if you'd like to do us a favor, if you've enjoyed any particular episode of Jupiter Night, do us a favor and send it out to a friend. We'd like to spread the word of the show.
Absolutely.
That's how we do it the best, is through you guys. You guys, like, it's called the word of mouth, and it really is the best way to get things out there.
You know, all your Portal 2 players, all your friends that are playing with you in co-op and everything, just tell them about our review. Have them come check us out and see if they like the rest of what we do.
There you have it. Okay, everyone. Thanks so much for watching tonight's episode of Jupiter at Night, and we'll see you tomorrow night.